Hello, everybody. This is a video that is part of a short series we're doing for the invitation. And in each video, we will be talking about one of the guiding principles that has been important to YWAM through our history. So today I'm here with Loren Cunningham, and we're going to be talking together about seeking God. So Loren, thank you so much for joining us for this.
Oh, it's a delight to be with you and to all of our YWAM family.
Wonderful. So tell us, when you think about seeking God, what are some stories that come to mind from YWAM's early days or maybe from more recently?
One in particular I want to share. It was at my father's funeral. Dr. Ammerman, who was Chaplain Ammerman, came to honor my father in 2003. And he said, I want to see you afterwards. And it starts with a story, seeking God, in 1972. In 1972, in Switzerland, at the Lausanne base, we would start all of our days out with a time of intercession. And we'd break up into groups, with groups of 5 or 6, so everyone could be heard and everyone could participate. And we would start with the principles, and making sure we have a clean heart, making sure we declare our faith and any spiritual warfare needed and so on. And then we wait on God. That's another way of saying seeking God, because we seek God in detail to hear from him what's on his heart. Well, to make a long story short, we're different nationalities, but one of them spoke up and said we're to give Bibles to military, U.S. military in the camps in Germany. And there's lots of camps at that time in Germany, dozens. And someone else said yes, and it's 100,000 Bibles. And then I got the word just privately. Lord said, you call Dr. Kenneth Taylor. So I didn't know him. I didn't know where he was in the world. So I called my friend, Brother Andrew, in Holland. And he said, oh, sure, come over. He'll be at my house on Saturday. This was Monday morning. And later he called back and he said, I just heard from Kenneth Taylor. He's in Athens, Greece, but he has urgent need to go home tomorrow. And so he asked me to have you call him. So I called him and I asked if he'd be in Central Europe on the way home, which I learned was Chicago. And he said, yes, I'll be 2 hours in Frankfurt. I met him back then, no security problems, just inside near the plane that he was going to get on. And so I shared what God had shown us on Monday morning, the day before. And he said, where did you get the number? I told him, I said, we just got it from the Lord. And one person got it and the others prayed about it and they felt that was right. He said, well, I just happen to have 100,000 Bibles left over from a Billy Graham crusade. But I want you to know they cost me $6 each to print, but I'm going to give you them. These are great big Bibles. And he said, but you'll have to pay for getting them shipped from Chicago to Germany. I said, okay. And so he got on the plane, left, and then I called my friend. He was over all the chaplains there in Germany, top chaplain. And he had taught in our school on leadership, good friend, great man of God. And so I said, I got a vision to share with you, Jim. He said, well, you come to my house here in Frankfurt and Charlene will make you a nice dinner and stay the night. I said, I'll do that. So I went over there, gave him the vision. Oh, he said, your timing is amazing. My timing. I just heard it the day before, got the books, worth $600,000 wholesale, and just hours before. And he said, tomorrow, all the top generals are meeting together here in Frankfurt. And they've asked me, because they have to, because I'm the top, chaplain, to give them a little devotion. He says, instead, I'm going to introduce you. You give them the gospel, because I know none of them know Jesus. And then you give your vision. The top man will say yes or no. If he says yes, they all agree. So that's the way it works in the military. He said yes. And he said, well, we'll distribute them according to the numbers in the camps of the troops, and then you send the YWAMers in, and you're free to do it. And amazingly, the Navy, U.S. Navy, and the U.S. Air Force brought together 100,000 big Bibles. That's a huge load. And they then distributed them, and the YWAMers went in. They shared the message. And Jim Ammerman, he said it was the greatest move of God up to that time he had ever seen in the military. So many came to Christ. Mm. He said, fast forward now, at my father's funeral following, he said, when I came into the military, I had the right to ask all the top officers, from the generals down to majors, do you know Jesus personally? Have you met him and been born again? And he said almost none. Just a few would say yes. This is all of them around the world. And he said, I did 30 years later, last year would be 2002. I did the same thing. And I found the majority were believers. And yes, and I followed Jesus. Then those that said yes, he sent another message. When did you when did you get to meet Jesus? They said in 1962, when the Bibles were given out in Germany, that's when I came to know the Lord, the majority of the believers. That's a reason why, in unity, with clean hearts, as you seek God, he knows what to pray about better than we do. And we think we know a lot, and we do in YWAM around the world, but we only know a little compared to what he knows. And he knows what to pray about, seeking God, how important it is.
And it sounds like we can really seek him for details. The timing of that story is amazing.
Yeah, it was amazing because it was God's timing, not mine. Yeah. I intended to be in Switzerland on Tuesday and Wednesday. That all changes. And if you can't change with God, you can't change, because he's the lamp to our feet. That's the next step. But the light to the pathway is the big picture. And that was a 30-year picture. Wow. So as we follow the invitation to pray, we're going to have the opportunity of praying in unity across the oceans of the world into every continent of the world. And we'll be praying, asking God to show us as we seek him, because seeking him comes from knowing his presence. And that's what I say to the most young people. This is what I try to live by every day of my life, practicing the presence of Jesus, so that whether you pray or whether you work or whether you witness or what you do, you practice the presence of Jesus.
Amen. Well, thank you, Loren. That will really help all of us as we gather around the world to pray into this area.